UV flatbed ADA signage is a huge growth market, but overprinting text and Braille alone won't get you compliant, fast production. That's where fluid color and image print UV come in. Take the Braille monster, 7 heads, 3 rows, varnish, white, CMYK, 14 channels to build raised ADA elements fast, with 6 varnish channels for the fastest Clear Braille dots on the market. Image Print UV is built for this hardware, maximizing speed, workflow, and profit. Let's take a look at some of its unique features. Let's do a quick walkthrough on how this all happens. I'm going to start with my advanced window right here, and this is going to be our default layer structure. So for each of my images that I bring into the layout window, I want to have a white layer followed by a color layer. My white layer mode is set to alpha. This preserves rounded corners, so it uses the alpha channel to mask off where I want ink and where I don't want ink. Fast texture is set to all. We're going to build our texture with all the available ink channels that we need to get to the specified raised height of our ADA components. And for white and our color layer, our finished layers, we're in speed mode, which means it does white and color at the same time. So that's my layer structure settings right here, and all my images are going to inherit those settings. I'm going to say OK, and now we're going to look at the print modes that we're going to build our graphic with. We have the ability to separate our print modes into 2 separate resolutions. We have our finished layers. This is white and color. We don't need as much resolution for those layers, but we want a higher quality. We don't want to see any print artifacts or any banding in those finished layers. So we're at a higher quality mode. But for our emboss layers, what we want is a higher resolution. We want a smaller, tighter dot structure. This also allows for more ink per dot to come out of the print head, but we don't need as much quality, so we're going to lower the quality setting on that. This allows us to build our emboss layer faster, but with more dot structure. And then we come back, and in our finished layers, we have a lower resolution, but a higher quality. So by splitting this up, we are doing a balancing act where we balance both the quality that the printer is putting down for what the end user is seeing, plus speed and performance by manipulating those emboss layers to not only give us a higher quality dot structure, but lay down more ink at the same time, but at a lower print quality level. So that's how we achieve the outstanding balance between quality and performance. Now let's take a look at a couple images. So I have 2 graphics here, and they appear to be the same. And we're going to look at the composite structures. These are the layering elements for each one of these. So I go to my composite settings for the first image, and I can see it's inherited my white layer and my color layer that I set up in my advanced button before. Now let's look at the second image. Now in the second image, we have the added emboss layer. So this is all of my raised elements, and they've been raised to the proper height for ADA compliancy, followed by my white layer and color layer. So how did I get that emboss layer? Let's take a look at that. So on this second image, we're going to go into our ADA Compose window. We've got our preview here, and then we also have a preview of the build layer. So everything in white is going to be raised. And if we look over here at the elements of the file, we can see I have 2 spot color names. I have Braille and Texture. Now, if I turn off Braille, we can see the Braille dots disappear. I'll turn it back on. If I turn off Texture, we can see the font and the pictogram disappear. So these are special spot color names that we key off of. So when you bring in a graphic that's been designed in an outside design package, if you name those components properly, so Braille for your Braille dots and Texture for your font in your pictogram, the software will automatically see those spot color names and know what to do with them. So it raises them to the proper height. It builds that texture layer. For the Braille dots, it swaps them out with our engineered dot, so the dot shape and texture and dome is perfect every single time. And the way you achieve that is by using these spot color names. So there's also a third spot color name called Braille Clear. And if we use that spot color name, it knows to break out the Braille dots to be used in a varnish only layer. So you'll have clear Braille dots, and it does that automatically. So I'm going to hit apply to this. So let's take a look at another file. Now this file has the Braille clear dots specified in it, and we'll look at the composite settings, and we can see here that we've got our main emboss layer. So that's going to be built up, maximizing all the ink channels available to us, followed by our white layer, color layer, and then the final layer here will be our clear Braille dots, which will be done in varnish only. So the software is calibrated from a height standpoint. We know the build height of every pass of ink, so we automatically know how to set that, how many passes to achieve the proper height. The end user doesn't need to know any of that. It's all put into the software so that all you have to do is follow a very simple naming convention, and everything is done for you. Now, we can also add Braille dots if they're missing and we need to add those to graphics, and we can add both the font and the Braille dots together. Let's take a look at some of those files. So I have a group of files here. There's 4 files. They're all different, and they all need to have Braille dots added to them. So I'm going to drop them onto the interface, and they'll be laid out. And now we can go take a look at the ADA composite menu and see that we've got our texture spot color. So it pulled out the font, but we need Braille dots. So we're going to say add Braille, and we're going to go to advanced, and we have our fonts that are available in our system. So it only is going to show you the fonts that are ADA compliant. It also shows you minimum font size and maximum font size, and it has the guardrails set for those. And then we can specify our color. So I'm going to go, and I want a custom color, and I want to pick that color from the screen. I want my Braille dots to be the same as that background color. So I've set those, and I want to generate dots only because the font is already there. So now all I have to do is my translation, and it builds my Braille dots. I can see my Braille dots in a box here. Now they are set to the same color as the background, so I don't see them on this display, but I do see them here on the build display. So what I want to do with my guardrails is I need to set that positioning where I'm in compliance so I don't infringe on anything. And once I have it where I want it, I can say apply. And now the nice thing is the software will remember those settings because, again, we have 4 unique files here that we need to add Braille dots to. So when I come into my second file, all I need to do is type in my translation because it remembers everything else for me. And do that for each one. So it's a very simple workflow, gives you a lot of flexibility in your graphics, whether you have everything pre-designed or you need to add some elements along the way. All right, we'll do our last one, and these will be ready to print. So once we have these done and they're laid out, we can go to print, send them off to the printer, and everything will be set automatically. And we can take a look at those. We'll look at the composite settings, And here we can see our emboss layer. It was raised to the proper height already for us. We have our white layer set to alpha to preserve those rounded corners, and we have our finished color layer. And it's as simple as that. Let's take a look at another file, a file that needs both the font and the Braille dots. So we'll bring one in. We'll go back to the ADA Compose window. We'll add Braille. In this case, we're going to change that to white. We need both the font and the dots, so I'm going to uncheck that. Now, if I wanted to clear Braille dots, I would check this emboss dots as a top clear layer, but I don't. I'm going to still do these in color, and we'll just type in for the translation. Again, we can see our guardrails around that, so we'll set that in a valid location for spacing, say apply, and we can even see that that's added into the image here, and it's ready to be printed. Now, if we were printing many of these at the same time, we can step and repeat them and lay them out where our blanks are and all that good stuff. But we won't get into the layout aspects of this. We're just going to cover the Braille components at this time. So when it comes to ADA signage, whether you're designing your elements in a design package and bringing them into image print using our naming convention, or if you have to add certain ADA components like the font or the Braille dots inside image print, it's very fast and efficient to do so, and it covers just about every imaginable ADA workflow that's out there. And that's it for the ADA portion.